Well, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson, and on the show we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, and what we know, of course, is an aging population today. Our show is sponsored today by eldercareresourcesusa.com, where they provide information for an aging world. Enjoy informative articles, watch videos, download helpful guides, learn from nationally recognized experts, and connect with key local providers. Visit eldercareresourcesusa.com. From that site, you could connect to a lot of the local sites. If you're in the California area, that's ecrbayarea.com, ecrlosangeles.com, and ecrbayarea.com. A lot of great information, and you could get on local sites throughout the country as well. So just wanted to... I'll tell you, I'm very excited about today's show. I always say I'm excited because we always have great guests. But this particular person, very innovative, which I love innovation in his business. His name is Christopher Westfall. Chris has been a licensed insurance agent for 19 years and was also a police officer, which we're going to learn more about that. Police officer for 15 years before opening his own insurance agency, which now has 1,200 independent agents in 34 states. His group helps seniors exclusively on the telephone with their Medicare plans through some innovative technology, which we'll learn more about. Chris also runs a website called medicare-agenttraining.com where he trains other agents on this technology. So, Chris, welcome to the Aging Boomers.
Thanks, Frank. Good to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled we're able to have you on the show. And, you know, let's start out. This technology that you developed, without getting too technical, I found it quite interesting that, you know, there's this perception out there, I guess, and when you're working with seniors especially, that, you know, it's going to be more effective meeting them face to face, sitting down at the kitchen table or in the living room and going through things with them. But you kind of taken a different approach utilizing this technology. So tell us more about it.
Well, you know, there's a recent Pew Research study that showed that a vast majority of seniors, that is, those turning 65 in the Medicare space at least, are online now. And certainly our boomers are online. They've been in the workplace. They've been using computers, Facebook, all this stuff already. So what I found a way to do is simply to reach out to them by email. And it's as simple as receiving an email, and they get a link in that email that directs them to an automated screen sharing service. So up on their screen comes my smiling face, the quotes, the different plans, everything I need to guide them through. Most importantly, that is a credibility piece. Who am I? Who are they dealing with over the telephone? And they can see me, interact with me. Now, there's no camera on their side. I can't see what they're doing, but they can see me just as if I were sitting in their living room right then. And that really builds a bond of trust. Very simply, they can see my licenses, they can see my family, and they do. And then we can go into the plans and the options that may be appropriate for them. But it's just like doing a kitchen table visit with someone without having to clean up around the house, because I can't see anything in their house at all, but it gives them a window into what I could provide for services. And I've just found it's been tremendous at bridging that gap between I've got something I can offer to them and maybe save them money, maybe get them into a better position. But if they're too scared to engage me by a simple phone call, which is just a blind conversation on both ends, then we can bridge that gap by turning on the vision part of it. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Moving video's worth a lot more than that. So all they have to do is receive an email from me. They click a little hyperlink in there, and suddenly their computer comes alive with all the information that I can show them, including but not limited to a live video feed where I can wave at them and talk to them. They can see I'm a real live person.
You know, there was a day not too long ago that you had to have like certain programs loaded on your computer and things. So,
right.
Not the case here?
Not at all. All they need is that email. They click on the link, and there's nothing to download. There are no permissions to ask for or install anything. It's just instantly available for them to see right away. Very simple.
So if that senior, even though, like you said in that Pew Research, that more and more are, going online, if they don't have a computer and they don't, want to learn it, do you sometimes talk with family members in the same way, or is it usually the seniors themselves?
We do. We can talk with the family members. Very often, our boomers that are turning 65 or even older, they're living with an adult child, or they're living with somebody else who is more technologically savvy. And if they are, and they can borrow their computer or just look over their shoulder during the presentation, that's wonderful. If not, then we just do a simple telephone conversation. But we've seen it was a threefold increase in our ability to help someone all the way through their process of enrollment, if that was the right course of action, by simply turning on the visual part of that conversation rather than just a telephone call. So certainly we could help someone if they don't have email, if they don't have a computer. We've just found it to be much more effective if they or somebody that they know does.
That was going to lead me to another question. I mean, most of the work that you're doing are with seniors that are kind of at that beginning stage in that enrollment process, or is it after they've already been on Medicare and they're talking to you about options, other options?
Well, my business has typically been helping seniors between the ages of 68 to 74. And it's a weird mix in there, but it's purposeful. And the reason for that is when you're turning 65 and you're first eligible for Medicare, the mailbox is jammed full with agents and agencies and companies trying to get your attention. The door is knocking all the time. Somebody on the other end wants to meet you in person and sell you Medicare plans. The phone never stops ringing from Medicare agents. And what we found is all of those people that are barraged with an influx of agents at 65 years old, suddenly when they're 67 or 68, and they've received some benefit changes, some rate increases, things aren't the way they were when they were 65, they can't find that turning 65 agent because that agent is geared toward constantly looking for new 65-year-olds. They don't really manage those seniors that they've gathered when their renewal time comes up. As a matter of fact, when you're turning 65, there's no qualification necessary for any plan. It's guaranteed issue. You can pick any plan you want, and there's no underwriting consideration at all. However, later, when you're past 65, if you want to switch plans on Medigap plans or Medicare supplement plans, you do have to qualify based on underwriting. And what was shocking to me to find, because I've now worked with thousands of agents, those agents that focus on the 65-year-old, many of them have no idea how to go through the underwriting process later. So if their senior client took an $80 a month rate increase over 4 years on their Medicare supplement, that senior's hurting. They need somebody to shop the market for them and go out of the marketplace and find something more conducive to their budget. However, that original agent, if they can reach them when they're not out knocking doors, the original agent really has no idea how to go through that underwriting process. So we found a real need in the marketplace for those seniors that are past 65 to have somebody independently shop the market for them and look at what's available in the market. If you look at the Medicare book, page 68 clearly says in the 2014 Medicare and You Guidebook, all Medigap plans are exactly the same. They cover the same doctors, the same hospitals, the same benefits, dollar for dollar. The only difference is the premium that you pay. And we've seen wide swings from $200 a month in either direction from just being able to be independent and look in the market and say, look, this is the best value plan for your dollar. And that's, I think, why we've been so successful and why seniors respond is because we literally give money away, and that is just replacing what they've already got, what they know, what they trust, with the same plan. Typically, it's Plan F or Plan G. That's the most common plan out there. Replace that plan with one with much better value down at the bank, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, let's take a step back here for a second, and I want to make sure. I mean, I'm sure we have listeners that are very familiar with Medicare, and you got some that might be kind of approaching that 65 and maybe they haven't really dug into it too much. I'm going to ask you a real basic question, all right? What is Medicare? Let's explain to our listeners exactly what that is, and because sometimes I hear people say, "Well, is it Medicare or Medicaid?" So, give us some basics on that.
Medicare is available for seniors over 65 years old currently, and they always try to manipulate that date going forward. But right now, it's 65 years old for seniors who have earned the benefit. It's not a handout. It's not a free giveaway program. Seniors have earned the right to be on Medicare by having worked 40 quarters or 10 years of full-time work experience through their adult lives. And that is a benefit that they've earned, and it generally pays 80% of all their doctor and hospital and x-rays and labs and so forth when they turn 65. So the only question then, now you've got Medicare. It's a wonderful benefit. And what are you going to do for the other 20%? Well, there's no limit on how much you could pay out of your pocket for that 20%. So seniors make a choice. They either do a Medicare supplement, which literally does as it sounds. It supplements that 80% to pay the difference, or they completely abdicate their health care to an HMO, typically, a Medicare Advantage plan. And by doing that, they really pull out of the Medicare system, and they turn their health care over to a managed network where the focus is on saving money through the delivery of health care. So they've got a network of doctors. They've got restrictions on them. They've got a maximum out of pocket. The average now is $6,700 every year that they could be forced to pay out of their pocket before the health plan pays for everything. They go into the hospital on those plans, and it could be $200 or $300 per day in the hospital. But most importantly, on an Advantage plan, and I hold up air quotes that you can't see, but an Advantage plan is not really an advantage in that it's the HMO or the medical plan then that decides what health care you get. If your doctor thinks you need a MRI, CAT scan, and an x-ray, that HMO Medicare Advantage plan may say, well, we're focused on cost here because that's their mission, is to save money. Let's just start with an x-ray and see if we can get it done there. Well, your doctor may say, look, we're looking at 3 different things. We need to see 3 different angles. The managed care plan, that Medicare Advantage plan, again, having replaced all of Medicare itself, only limits them to what the health plan will approve. So if you're on a Medicare Advantage, you've got an insurance company that's taking money from the government to manage your care for you. On the other side of the fence, where I spend most of my focus on the Medicare supplement side, they're free to go to any doctor in the country, any healthcare facility, any provider. So if they get a brain tumor and they want to go to MD Anderson Cancer Treatment Center in Texas, they pick up the phone, they make a call. If they want to go to Shands or Arnold Palmer Hospital or any specialty facility in the country, they can do that. They just have to arrange their travel and set an appointment, but it's paid for. So the senior's still in control of their health care.
So it's not you either take out Medicare, if you're going to take something additional out, it's either Medicare Advantage or the Medicare Supplement, not both. Is that correct?
Right. Exactly. You can't have both. It's one or the other. One of them costs money. The Medicare Supplement has a monthly fixed premium to it, and that premium can adjust every year. Sometimes they go down, most of the time they go up, but it's a fixed monthly premium. It's usually around $100, $150 maximum for a Medicare supplement plan. On the Medicare Advantage side, many times there is no monthly premium. And I've heard some seniors say, as they grew up, they were always told, you get what you pay for. Well, if you're not paying any premium at all, and the insurance company is getting paid by the government to manage your health care, you have to wonder, where's the money coming from and what kind of care am I going to receive? And like I said, you pay as you go on those plans. So if you go into the hospital on a Medicare Advantage plan, you could be coming out of the hospital with a $1,600, $1,800, or $2,000 bill because you pay as you go with those plans. So a typical senior on a fixed income can be shocked to find that they come out of a hospital situation with a $2,000 bill, and if they're readmitted, it's even worse, of course. They could be paying that whole thing all over again. And that's why I think the Medicare supplements are a better way to go. You've got a fixed cost with no surprises. You just continue to pay your monthly premium, and it's guaranteed renewable for the rest of your life.
Well, what about some of these other terms we hear? Medigap. Can you explain that?
That's the government's interesting term that they've affixed to Medicare supplements. It's all the same thing. It just fills in the gap between what original Medicare pays and what the doctor has billed. So it fills in the gap. It's the same term as Medicare supplement, and the Medigap plans, that's what the Medicare and You guidebook calls it for the Medicare supplement plan. But again, when you're turning 65, you've got the world as your oyster. You can pick any of those Medicare supplement plans with no health underwriting at all. You just merely pick the best plan in the market for you, and that's what we focus on. Later in life, if you want to change those plans on the Medicare supplement side, you have to qualify by answering some health questions. There's no physical exam, just answering health questions. Conversely, on the Medicare Advantage side, you can sign up for those plans once per year, and there are no health questions at all, which again begs the question, if it's open to anybody and there is no screening whatsoever, what kind of folks are they going to get? They're going to get anybody and everybody, sick or not, and you benefit or suffer based on the fact that you're in a pool of healthy or sick people. That's how they adjust their benefits year to year. So the Medicare Advantage plan, you can switch those plans, and those are one-year contracts. Every year they change. The co-payments change, the networks change, the doctors change. They all change those things once per year, whereas the Medigap, or the Medicare supplement, stays consistent. When you buy that contract, it's going to be that same benefit plan for the rest of your life. You are in control of that plan. You can leave anytime you want, but the company cannot arbitrarily come out and say, oh, by the way, we're going to double your cost when you go to the doctor, or we're going to double your cost when you go to the hospital, as they often have been doing recently on these Medicare Advantage plans in response to the new Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, we're going to get to that Affordable Care Act in just a second. The process, when should someone start planning, to get enrolled in Medicare? Do they wait till they're 65? Is there some period before? Does it depend when their birthday is? Can you go through that process?
Sure, and they have to sign up for Part B. Part A is a given. That's the hospitalization part. That's the part that they've earned. Part B, they must pay a premium for, and that's depending on what your income level is. For most folks right now, it's around $104 per month for Part B.
And Part B of Medicare. Define Part B?
Yeah, it's everything outside the hospital. Gotcha. Part A is the hospital. Part B is everything else, doctors, the x-rays, the lab work, the doctor visits and everything. Okay. So that's all Part B, and that's what you have to pay for. And that's typically taken through Social Security through a direct deduction. Once they've got A and B, then we need to supplement that somehow. Okay. So that's how that works, but they've got to have both of those.
And when should they start that process?
They should start that process right before they turn 65.
Right before,
right before 65. Now, you can apply for a Medigap plan up to 6 months before you turn 65. And we know Medicare itself is going to kick in when you're 65. So one nice little tactic that we try to employ when we can is if someone's looking at this 6 months out from turning 65, we could literally write an application today, 6 months out, and lock in that rate and that benefit plan so that when they do turn 65, they had a rate that was good 6 months ago, and that rate is locked in for an additional year on those Medicare supplement or Medigap plans. That's a good way to go, but they could wait. You just don't want to wait 6 months past turning 65, or else you lose that window of guaranteed issue ability to get a Medicare supplement plan with no questions asked.
Got it. Okay. So is this something you help them with, or where does somebody call just to enroll?
Yes, on the Medicare, just to get started on Part B, they need to call Social Security. Okay. They call Social Security direct, or they can go to a local Social Security office. And if they're writing that down, they can call 800-772-1213. 800-772-1213, and that's Social Security who can help them get started. But after they've got that date, and Social Security will tell them what that date is that they're going to start their Medicare eligibility, and it's usually the first of the month in the month in which they're turning 65. So if I'm turning 65 the 14th of July, then July 1st, my benefits for Medicare will have started. So everything kicks in at the same time. Your Medicare supplement, Medicare Parts A, Medicare Part B, et cetera.
So while we're there on giving out numbers, why don't you tell people how they could get a hold of you or one of your agents, and how would they go about doing that?
Many ways. The easiest way is to see us online at seniorsavingsnetwork.org. So seniorsavingsnetwork.org, or they can call our office toll-free from anywhere in the country at 800-729-9590, 800-729-9590.
Okay. And they should contact you kind of after they've enrolled and kind of got
Yes,
set
once
up.
we have a date that they're going to be eligible for Medicare, or if they've already been on Medicare and they've just received a rate increase, another rate increase from their company. You know, Medicare supplement companies are just like cable companies or cell phone providers in that they oftentimes give a better rate for somebody coming in brand new than they do their loyal customers that have been with them for 5 years. So to keep them on their toes, it's always good to have your agent, make your agent shop the plans for you at least every year or two, and that's what we do with our clients. So if a particular company does not behave themselves, let's say they offer a 20% rate increase, which is ridiculous, but it has happened, we need to go immediately and shop the market to see what we can do to reduce that cost and go with a different provider. Again, the benefits are exactly the same. The only difference is the cost that you're going to pay, and that's what a good agent will do, is continue to monitor that rate increase and shop the market so that their clients are always getting the best value.
Got it. So with the 3-4 minutes we have left here, I know there's not enough, we could do a whole show on the Affordable Health Care Act, but
right.
Can you just give us an overview on what effect that has had or will have on Medicare, and what should people know?
Yeah, in the second quarter of 2014, the Congressional Budget Office revised their outlook for Medicare's stability going forward, and they've simply said Medicare looks to be on stronger footing than originally thought. The reason why is because $700 billion has been, this is what they cite as the reason, $700 billion was taken out of the Medicare fund, so they're not spending it on Medicare anymore, so that they can spend it on subsidies for the Affordable Care Act for those people under 65. Now remember, I started this whole thing by saying Medicare is an earned benefit. Seniors have earned that privilege for Medicare, and now suddenly, because of the Affordable Care Act, that money has been taken out of Medicare and reallocated now through that act into the Affordable Care Act. What that's done for seniors is those plans called Medicare Advantage plans are funded by Medicare. It's a certain stipend paid by the government for each senior life covered on Medicare Advantage, and that amount is going to be reduced, and all the insurance companies have expressed that, what they've heard from Washington. So their networks are being tightened up right now. Matter of fact, there are some class action lawsuits against certain insurance companies for cutting those doctor networks right now. And a senior says, wait, I signed up with this plan because this doctor of mine was in the network, and now you've slashed all the doctors. Where am I supposed to go? So it's a one-year contract, the Medicare Advantage, but it's a contract between the insurance company and you where you have to remain put for a year. The insurance company, however, can change their network behind the scenes, and that's how primarily they're responding to the Affordable Care Act restriction in money, is that they're cutting the doctor networks. And another thing is they've raised their out-of-pocket network maximums when you're in those things for co-payments for the doctor, x-rays, lab work, hospital. They kind of co-pay you to death in those Advantage plans, and those co-pays are going up, as well as the maximum out-of-pocket that you're expected to spend is going up to the average now $6,000+. And then it's just more and more restrictions based on limited number of dollars. They're all chasing limited funds in Medicare in response to the Affordable Care Act.
So when you say the doctor's been cut, what you're saying is that senior can no longer use Medicare for that particular doctor. I mean, the doctor is just not in that plan anymore.
It's not in the network, and so once you've given up original Medicare and you've chosen to go to a Medicare Advantage plan, you can no longer use the 80% rule of Medicare paying 80%. You can't do that anymore. You must then go through the network. Well, if the network of doctors suddenly is pulled out from under you, like it's happening in the Northeast especially in the first part of 2014, it's all over the news, these seniors who joined the plan based on the fact that their doctor that they've known and liked and trusted for years, now suddenly that doctor's out of the plan. The only option then for the senior to continue seeing that doctor is not to go to them and get 80% of the bill paid by Medicare. No, it's nothing. It's complete out of pocket if they want to continue to see that doctor, because it's outside the scope of the contract that they've joined with this HMO plan. So it's kind of trying. They've got to go then find another doctor that does participate in the plan, and that's made for some very angry seniors around the country right now.
So what about the Medicare supplement, though?
No change. No change there whatsoever. The Affordable Care Act has not affected Medicare supplements.
So
ironically,
if they take
supplements
the Medicare,
are covered under the Social Security Act.
So
totally
if they
different.
If they take out the Medicare supplement, they could go see their doctors. Okay.
They sure can. The problem is, once you're in an Advantage plan, unless it's your first time joining, when you turn 65, you've got 12 months to change your mind and go back and get a supplement instead of the Advantage plan. Other than that, if you're 70, 72, 74, that's a one-year contract that you cannot get out of until the next annual enrollment period, which is only in the fall and kicks in January 1st. So if this happens to you in June, you're stuck with that plan. You can't leave it until January of the next year, and that's the sad part of the Advantage plans. You're stuck in there. On the other hand, Medicare supplements, you can change those plans literally 365 times a year. You can change Medicare supplements anytime you want. But once you've joined the Medicare Advantage plan and you've signed your name to that contract, you're stuck there, at least for that remainder of the year.
So if that doctor is important, we just got a few seconds here, but if that doctor is important to that senior and they have not signed up yet, what do you recommend that they do, just to be sure that that doctor is going to be available to them?
The unfortunate part is the doctor still wants to participate in those Advantage plans, and they had no inkling of the fact that their contract would suddenly be terminated. So there's nothing you can do preemptively to say, how will my insurance company treat my particular doctor? Because as soon as you sign on that dotted line, you're obligated, but the doctor could be pulled out of the network, even against their will, which has happened in all these cases. So if you join the Medicare supplement plan, you're good to go. Any doctor in the country that accepts Medicare will still accept you, and that's why I advocate so strongly consider a Medicare supplement versus a Medicare Advantage if you can afford the monthly premium. And you're going to pay either the monthly premium, which is stable, or you're going to pay at the time of service. And as we all know, as seniors age, they don't get healthier. Typically, they get more and more doctor visits in hospitals. So I think the Medicare supplement is definitely the way to go for that reason.
We've had with us Christopher Westfall, who's been just providing us some great information about Medicare supplement, and the whole program. Chris, how to, again, tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you or one of your agents?
Sure, they can find us on the internet at seniorsavingsnetwork.org, seniorsavingsnetwork.org, or at 800-729-9590, 800-729-9590.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers. We'll have to have you back in the future. Lots going on in that insurance
certainly
business with seniors, and I think it's great what you're doing and helping a lot of people out. So thanks so much for joining us, and thank you all for joining us. Thanks for all your support. Again, you could go on to iTunes to subscribe. Love to hear your comments. You could also go to agingboomers.com and make comments and follow us and get all these shows on a regular basis. Again, we're on every Monday and Friday with new shows. So thanks for joining us. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.